What's going on, guys? It's Gothalion, and it's no secret that I'm a big fan of the Nvidia Shield, and I've done a lot of demonstrations with it and shown streaming and different games on the Android OS on it, and I get a lot of comments where people are like, oh, well, you know, Shield is $100 more, so I'm just going to get a PS Vita. So I didn't think it was fair for me to keep touting the Shield and not talk about the Vita as well. So I went out and I got a Vita, and I'm going to be doing some head-to-head comparisons between the Nvidia Shield and the PS Vita as far as hardware goes and as far as its streaming capabilities, because the Vita does have the streaming mode with the PlayStation 4, the remote play, and it's supposed to be on every game. So I'm going to be doing a lot of head-to-head comparisons on stability and performance and this and that, so I can really see like which is the clear winner here and kind of try to even learn for myself which is the better hardware. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. We're going to talk about hardware specs today. So first off, let's talk about the Vita. So first we're going to talk about the hardware on the Vita, and while it is a couple years old, it's still pretty hefty hardware. I would compare it graphically and performance-wise to what you would see on the Tegra 3 system on a chip and in an iPhone 4S. The CPU, the quad-core ARM Cortex A9, is actually comparable to Tegra 3 in its system on a chip CPU. Memory-wise, it has 512 megabytes of system memory and 128 megabytes of video memory, and what this does is let it multitask a little better and load things in and out of games, make things zippier. The GPU is the same GPU that is used in the iPhone 4S, I believe. So if you want to compare it to something, compare it to the iPhone 4S. Its screen is a 960 by 544 OLED 220 ppi capacitive touchscreen, and that's a really nice screen. The OLED screens are really vibrant. They have a great contrast ratio on them, though in the next coming model of the PS Vita that's been announced in the East, I don't know if it's coming West, I haven't really paid too much attention. They've actually done away with the OLED, and they're going to a lower quality screen on the next generation of PlayStation Vita. So if you're gonna get a Vita, you should probably go and get one before that 2000 model comes out, because the screen will be lower quality, won't be quite as sharp. My least favorite thing about the Vita would be the storage on it, because when you buy one, depending on the bundle, it doesn't come with internal memory. You have to get a proprietary memory card. Now, these are memory cards specifically for this product. So you can't go out and get an SD card or use an SD card that you have around the house. And if you get a game, you need to get a memory card, and they start around $25. I got mine from GameStop used, and it's a 4 gigabyte card, and it was still $15 used. Battery wise, it does about 3 to 5 hours while gaming, maybe a bit longer depending on what kind of game you're doing, whether it be 3D or 2D, but you can expect between 3 and 5 hours of gaming, and that also takes into consideration how much Wi-Fi you're using. If you're playing online, obviously you're going to be using the Wi-Fi and using more of the battery. And speaking of connectivity, it does have Wi-Fi, and they did have 3G models, but I'm pretty sure those are being discontinued and they're just selling the Wi-Fi. But there are still 3G models out there, but again, you do need to get a plan for that, a data plan, and those can be pretty pricey. So I'm sticking to a Wi-Fi model. I got a Wi-Fi, and I'm just tethering it to my phone because I have unlimited data with Verizon. So yeah. So now we're going to take a look at the Nvidia Shield's innards. So obviously, the Nvidia Shield is going to be the beefier of the two hardware because it just came out. It's using Nvidia's latest chip, but price-wise, it is at $299, and you compare that to the PlayStation Vita, which is $199, but you pretty much have to get a memory card. And if you wanted to get 16 gigabytes of storage, you're looking at an investment of around $30 to $40, depending on what store you're going to. So you're looking at, let's just say worst case scenario, $240 for the PlayStation Vita. That's with no games, that's just your unit and a memory card. Anyways, so stats on the Nvidia Shield. It has 2 gigabytes of RAM system memory. It has a Tegra 4 system on chip, and that's basically your CPU and GPU on one chip. The CPU is a 1.9 gigahertz quad-core Cortex A15, which is roughly 3 times faster than the CPU that's in the PlayStation Vita. The GPU is a custom 72-core Nvidia GeForce GPU, and this is pretty impressive in a handheld because of the amount of cores that it has in it. I think the Vita only has 4 cores in it. And this has 72 GPU cores, which is where you're going to get all of your performance. You're going to see higher textures. You're going to see things like shadows and reflections and yada, yada, yada. All that technical stuff. We'll go over that in another video. We're just looking at specs. The screen is a 5-inch 1280 by 720 294 ppi capacitive touchscreen. So both units do have that capacitive touchscreen. And while this is only this isn't OLED, but it is a higher resolution, so you're going to get a lot of clarity on the Nvidia Shield. If it had an OLED screen, I would say it's easily the best screen on the market for as far as handheld gaming devices goes. Then we're looking at storage. It does have a 16 gigabyte internal memory, so it comes with memory, and then it has an expansion slot for micro SD, which can go up to, I think, currently 64 gigabytes or larger, though those larger chips are pretty expensive. The battery is a 28.8 watt hour, and you get about 6.5 hours of local gaming and then about 10 hours of streaming from your GeForce PC. I haven't had a chance to stream with my Vita yet, and I plan to as soon as I get my PlayStation 4 and do some head-to-head comparisons on battery life with that. But yeah, you get about 10 hours of streaming with the Nvidia Shield. Connectivity, you're looking at Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 3.0. Also note that the Nvidia Shield has an HDMI out on it, and a lot of people are kind of waiting to see if this the PlayStation TV, the Vita TV, comes to the US because it's going to be built for your TV. It's just going to be a controller and this little box that runs Vita games, and it's going to have your HDMI out. Well, you can already do that with the Shield. So let's talk about head-to-head, how things perform, and how things look real quick on our way out. Now, I'm not here specifically just to crap all over the Vita. I like the Vita. It's a sleek, sexy-looking handheld. Can you call a handheld sexy? It is a cool piece of technology. I like it a lot. We're going to talk about buttons and shit like that in a second. But from strictly hardware innards, you're looking at about 3 times the performance graphically on an Nvidia Shield than compared to a Vita. And it only really costs about, I don't know, 30% more or some odd at the end of the day. But we'll get into specifics about cost and cost over lifetime of devices in another video. We're still talking hardware. Let's talk interface and buttons. The Nvidia Shield has 2 analog sticks, and the PS Vita has 2 analog sticks. But the Nvidia Shield's analog sticks are clickable. The PS Vita's analog sticks are not clickable. They both have 4 face buttons, and they both have D-pads, and they're both the sticks are not staggered. I would prefer if the sticks were staggered on either of these devices, but unfortunately not. There are 2 sets of shoulder buttons on the Nvidia Shield. There are 2 triggers and then 2 buttons. And on the PS Vita, there are just 2 shoulder buttons. So when you stream on the PS Vita, I'm told that the 2 missing shoulder buttons that are on the PlayStation 4 controller are put on the rear touch panel, and as are clicking in the sticks. So your rear touch panel has now become 4 different buttons, and I feel like that's going to be relearning how to walk. Speaking of rear touchpad, the PS Vita does have the rear touchpad, and that's pretty cool, though I've noticed when I have it turned on and I'm gaming, it can get in the way more than it helps because my hands are large and this is a pretty small device, as where the Nvidia Shield is larger. It has some bulk to it. It's not too heavy. Obviously, the PS Vita is much lighter and fits in your pocket if you have large pockets. You still have those sticks that come out, but I tend not to put it in my pocket. I have a case. I'm very anal about not getting scratches on the screen. Speaking of scratches, I've had my Vita for not even 24 hours, 2 scratches on the screen. I've had my Shield for months and not so much as a scratch. And I give that credit to the clamshell that the Shield has. So it closes, your screen is protected, and the machine is turned off. So that's cool. But yeah, back to controls. The Nvidia Shield, it fits in your hand much better if you have large hands, when you're streaming games from your PC, you feel like you're controlling if you were with an Xbox controller. You don't have to relearn it, really. Like, you already know where your hands go, and the muscle memory is there. So when I'm playing Borderlands 2, it feels like I'm playing it on my PC. And then on the Vita, I'll let you guys know when I'm streaming how it feels, but I already have a feeling it's going to feel cramped because I've tried to play some games on it already, and while the experience is fine, I still feel like I'm relearning muscle memory for the controller. So that'll do it for hardware, guys. This has been a pretty long video on the specs and differences between the Vita and the Shield. Basically, these videos are going to be just me talking about the devices. I'll try to include some videos here and there, some gameplay shots, but this was just like what is inside these sumbitches. And before I leave, I do like the PS Vita. I'm enjoying it, but I felt like if I wanted to be truly unbiased about the Nvidia Shield, then I needed to go out, I needed to buy the Vita, and I needed to be able to see it for myself before I tell you guys the Shield is better. I can't tell you the Shield is better unless I own both devices, and I do a head-to-head comparison, and I do a video series, and I hold it for myself and experience it for myself. Because otherwise, like, what's the fucking point? Why would I be doing this without owning the device? So now I own both devices, and I'll let you guys know. I'll be doing this for a while, head-to-head. There are going to be some points where the Vita wins, but I feel like the Shield across the board, it's better for me as a device, and for anybody leaning towards the Shield, I'm going to try to tell you why it might be better for you, but if you're looking for certain things, that perhaps the Vita is better for you. So we're going to find out. Anyways, guys, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next comparison.